Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharon, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about UX interviews. So you've gotten your resume ready, you have gotten your portfolio ready, and you are finally ready to start applying for your first UX design job. But you don't really know what to expect or what the process is like. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all of the different steps that are usually included in the UX design recruitment process. Of course, if this sounds like something that you're interested in, please do not forget to support me by liking, sharing, commenting, and of course subscribing to my channel. Now, without wasting any more time, let's get into today's video. First step in the UX interview process after your application has been successfully received is an introductory call with a recruiter, someone that works in HR, or a talent acquisition partner. Now, typically this call is anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes. And in this call, it's not a technical call. The recruiter just wants to get to understand you a bit better. So maybe understand your personality, your work history, what drives you, what your goals are, and what you're currently looking for in a career. And they might also ask you at this stage about your salary expectations, so also prepare to have that on hand. So at this stage, it's pretty straightforward. You want to be able to answer the more generic questions like, tell me more about yourself, where you go over your career, talk about your education, talk about maybe your skills, things that interest you, and what motivated you to apply to that particular company. Now, I do have a more detailed video where I go into common UX design interview questions, and you can go check that out for questions that you can prepare for. So as I mentioned earlier, this stage is not technical because this person is typically not a UX designer. So they just want to understand on a high level if your career, personality, goals, and motivations match up with what the hiring manager has specified that they are looking for. Now, if you successfully pass that stage, congratulations. The next stage is typically a call with the hiring manager or another designer on the team. So this call now starts to get a bit more technical, and you can prepare for questions that really revolve around your career, projects that you might have worked on. If you took a boot camp, maybe what your boot camp experience was like, what tools you use, and probably also talking about what your design process is, and also trying to understand what skills you are most comfortable with. And you can also prepare by being very familiar with what is in your resume, what is in your portfolio, and the projects that you have worked on. Now, on to the next stage. Now, this particular stage could come in different forms. Now, this is really just an assessment of your skills, and it could come typically in three different ways. The first one could be a portfolio review, the second one could be a take-home design challenge, and the fourth one could be a whiteboard interview or whiteboard design challenge. Now, essentially at this stage, you're just trying to assess how well you work, what your design output is like, and what your design process, of course, is like. So let's go over the three main ways that they carry out these skills assessments. The first one is a portfolio review. Now, in this situation, you will be expected to present anywhere between 1 to 3 of your projects. Usually it's 1 or 2 projects, depending on how much time is allocated to this interview process. Now, at this stage, you're expected to, really go in depth, have a presentation prepared, and walk your interviewers through all the different steps that you took to solve the different projects that are probably in your portfolio. So talking them through the overview, what's it about, and then how you solved it, and what you learned from it. And if it's a project that's actually live, what was the impact of this project that you worked on the company. Now, the next type of skills assessment that's usually used is a take-home design challenge. Now, typically in this stage, you will be sent some sort of a design prompt or a document that outlines a specific problem and asks you to solve it. They usually would send over to you, what they expect, what deliverables they want, and probably you'll be expected to give maybe a presentation about it, and maybe send over some of the files that you have worked on. Usually they also give a couple of days for you to work on this, and it's not something that you have to turn over immediately. So you have time to take it home and actually work on it, solve it, and then send it back to them. One quick note for this phase, please be aware of companies that send you their own problems. So if you apply for a particular company and they give you one of the problems that the company itself faces, that's not a very ethical way to go about in the recruitment process. So be aware of some of those companies, because they're actually just looking to get ideas and not actually really looking to hire anyone. So be mindful of those kinds of projects that are sent your way. Another quick thing to note at this stage or with this particular type is that if you have questions, if you have things that are unclear to you, please reach out to the person that sent this design challenge over and ask questions that will help you understand the project or the assignments a bit better. The next type of skills assessment at this stage is a whiteboard challenge. Now, essentially what this is quite literally giving you a whiteboard, giving you a design problem, and then you kind of walk them through how you would solve it and then use a whiteboard to carry them along. Before the pandemic, this was usually done in person with an actual whiteboard. Now that there have been a couple of changes in how these things work, a lot of them are now remote, and you use tools like FigJam or Miro to kind of create the same whiteboard effect. At this stage, what they're really trying to assess is, how well you communicate, what your thinking process is like, and you will just be expected to walk them through how you're thinking from start to finish. So once you've completed your skills assessment, in the case of a take-home design challenge, there might be an extra step where you have to kind of present what you have done to the team. You walk them through it, they ask you some questions, you take their feedback, and you just, really show them how you got to the solution that you have for this particular project. Once you've completed the skills assessment stage, the next thing is a culture check or cultural fit check. And at this stage, it's usually a bit more relaxed, and you will then be meeting with other stakeholders that you could potentially be working with. So maybe your manager, maybe your product owner, maybe software developers, or just other designers in the team. And they get to talk to you to kind of check and feel out, what is this person's vibe like? What would they be like to work with? And just understanding if, it's a good fit culturally. Once you're done with the culture fit check and your potential teammates love you, the next thing will be that you will get an offer in your email. And this is a great time to sharpen up your negotiation skills, because they might send you an offer sometimes that is perfect with what you want, but in some other cases it might not be exactly what you want. So please do not be afraid to reply some of these messages about the offer with other things that you might want, maybe some added benefits or some increases or some things that you think you would really like to have in the environment that you will be working in. Now, some general tips for your interview process. One is always ask questions at every stage. Make sure you ask questions to understand what the company is like, how the company works, what the team structure is like, what the design team is like. Ask as many questions as possible, to give you an understanding if you would actually want to work in that company also. Remember that interviews actually go two ways. And as they are interviewing you, you are also interviewing them to know if this is a place that you want to work at. Second tip is, please know your portfolio and your resume like the back of your hand, because they're going to ask a lot of different questions around these. You want to be properly prepared and give satisfactory answers that show that you know your stuff, you know what you did, you know what you worked on, and you're comfortable fielding these kinds of questions. The next tip is, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or I have not done this yet. It's okay to admit if there's something that you're completely unfamiliar with. That is much better than kind of lying through it and forcing it if there's something you have no clue about. It's okay to say, no, I have not worked on it, but it's one of the areas that I'm looking to grow in or sharpen my skills. So that is totally okay, and people are expecting a level of honesty from you. And finally, be clear and confident. Always try to remember that the people on the other side who are trying to hire are also human beings just like you. And while it's normal to be nervous, don't allow that nervousness to kind of dictate your overall performance. Project your voice, sound confident, smile, and just be the best version of yourself possible. So I really hope that today's video was helpful for you. If it was, please do not forget to support me by liking, sharing, commenting, and of course subscribing to my channel. Thank you all so much, and see you soon.